We are redesigning a famous brand today, and of course it is a food brand. These videos can get quite controversial because a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the way famous brands and logos should look. But we're designing for fun, so nothing is serious in this video, and if you are a designer and you want to redesign a famous brand for fun, then go for it. We are redesigning Krispy Kreme donuts today. The famous brand where donuts are just glorious. They are filled with heaven, delightful goodness. And we are redesigning that brand today. We are at the standing desk today because you got to keep the body moving and all that. And I really hurt my back, so this is the current situation. Anyway, let's take a look at the current Krispy Kreme logo. Now, I'm pretty sure they've had this for many, many years. We do love a consistent brand. But today we are going to add in a little bit of spice, a little bit of quirkiness, and a little bit of, I want to eat a donut. So the things that I like about the logo is that shape of the box. And to be honest, that is about it. The thing I'm not sure on is the green colour. I've never been that fan of that type of green. It might just be my personal opinion, but I don't like it. It was obviously used for a reason, and the red colour within it is the most common colour used within the food industry, so I understand why they've kind of done that. I don't know, I'm not really sure on that colour scheme. One thing that also really bugs me about the logo is the dot on the I. How it intertwines with that swoosh of the K. I really don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of giving me like the ick. Let me know, is it giving you the ick? It doesn't sit right with me, and it's just making me feel funny. The first place to start, if you have no idea, is to just gather some inspiration, try and figure out a direction for the brand, see a little vision within it. So create a Pinterest board to show all of these ideas so you can just visually get them down. I've then made this clearer in Adobe Illustrator by creating my very own mood board. And within this, I knew I wanted to stay clear of those reds and those greens, and just go for something completely different, add in my own interpretation, use my own design style, which is quirky, bold, a lot of colour, and that's the direction that we're going in. So as you can see, there are blues, there's whites, there's creams. These really grab my attention, and it is a very distinct colour palette, but I had in my mind that I really wanted to use the whites, the creams, and then add a pop of colour of something. And I just feel like blue is the way to go for a donut brand. So we're going for it. And I know that I want to use a bold, condensed sort of type, just because, I don't know, donuts remind me of like those stress balls for some reason. Like you can squash donuts. So I don't know, having like it condensed and just bold, I feel like that's gonna work. So I always get asked what are my websites that I use for fonts. So there are 4 that I tend to sort of switch between. 1, Invasive Elements, which you guys know I just adore. 2 is Creative Market. 3 is Adobe Fonts, and 4 is Google Fonts. So I am now going to compare some fonts off one another to see which I want to use for the primary logo. So as I mentioned, I want to use that bold condensed sort of font. So I found a load of different styles of these, and I'm now just comparing them off one another to try and find the perfect font for what I want. So I have now whittled these down to 3, and the one that is just speaking to me and the one that, I don't know, I just have a feeling with some fonts, I'm like, yes, you are the one. So the one that is speaking to me is the Vanguard Regular. I honestly love how curvy, so curvaceous and fun this typeface is. Some of the other fonts were just too sort of harsh and square, and in donuts, as you know, they are rounded, and I just get that feeling from that font, so we're choosing it. Imagine if I was like, this video is sponsored by Krispy Kreme, but a girl can dream. Imagine if I could eat donuts whilst designing. Let someone make this happen. Okay, so the font has now been chosen. It is now time to design the primary logo for Krispy Kreme. On my mood board, I love the type where the O is sort of moving and it's falling down into the other letters. So I want to tweak those letters and make them fit between one another within our logo, and just so they like slot in really nicely. You know when like the icing on donuts is like dripping? I want to create that effect without the drips and going over the top, but just with the type falling nicely into one another. Okay, we are into the design now. So I'm just adjusting the legs of the individual letters so that they can slot nicely into one another, and it's actually working really, really well. To the eye, it just seems really comfortable, so I'm glad I've gone with that idea. I then had lots of white space around the P and the Y, and I did not like it. I was really struggling with knowing what to put there because nothing felt right. Whenever I put like the tail of the Y there, it didn't work with it just being so straight. It just felt too harsh. So I thought if I could disconnect the tail of the Y and then make it into a curve to fit into that space, it would work. It then led me on to realizing that that curve actually looked like a little smiley face. And when it was put next to the P and the Y, they actually looked like two eyes. So within that, we have created a really happy, smiley face. And within the brand, we want to go for that happy, fun feel. So it is a happy mistake. And within design, that can happen. The sun has it's come out, and it honestly makes me look like I'm glowing. I am a real life angel, guys. Anyway, the primary logo has now been designed, and I've transformed it into the secondary logo, which is in a landscape position. So if the brand ever needed to use it in that sort of space, it would fit perfectly because the primary logo in that stacked position just would not work. So I'm now going to design the letter mark, and I was unsure with what I wanted to use for that, whether I wanted to come up with a sort of logo mark or just take the K or use a donut or something like that, but I don't want to go for the most obvious. So I'm going to take the K and I'm going to fill it with some fun geometric shapes, just like you would fill a donut. So within the K, in that space, it's going to be filled with lots of fun things. The logo mark is filled with goodness. Just looking at it, it just makes me happy. And I feel like we could go down like the geometric route maybe for the pattern or something else, but it just fits in nicely with the other logos. So I like that everything is just slotted in, fits perfectly. I've outlined it so that when we go in and add a color palette, I can then go back to this and add in the colors exactly where I want them to go to make sure that it looks right. But designing in black and white first means that the logo is going to work in any color, in any situation. So it's always best to just start off in the good old black and white. It is now time to add the colour. So we are adding the blues, the whites, the creams, and I hope this colour palette works. I wanted to use that creamy colour as the base colour just because donuts on their own, when they're just glazed, are that browny creamy colour, so that symbolism works really nicely. And then that pop of blue is there to represent the fun side to this brand, and if you were to add in a topping or an icing, you can add in a pop of colour and it just contrasts really nicely with the cream colour. This colour palette is on fire! Are you vibing with this colour palette? Because I am. I always say this, but I've done something. Krispy Kreme is now a beautiful masterpiece, and it's just a cute donut brand, and I'm here for it. Love this style. So next, I actually want to create like a quirky, fun brand pattern for this brand. So I've already put the K as a pattern, which is just looking incredible, by the way. The geometric shapes work really nicely, but I had an idea that I could draw some like illustrations of people that have really long legs. So from the original primary logo, the M, it just reminds me of it being on like stilts. So I don't know, I have a feeling like I want to just draw some people eating donuts with really long legs. Is that a vibe or not? I don't know. We're going to see if it turns out alright or if it doesn't, but hopefully it turns out good. Sometimes you've got to try designs to see if they're going to work or not. And in this case, it didn't work. I am not vibing with the brand pattern and the illustrations of the people. I don't know what I was thinking, but not the vibe that I want to go for. So instead, I'm going to take the geometric shapes within the K and I'm going to create a very geometric pattern with that. I think this will look nice on like the wrapping around the donuts, maybe on some of the donut boxes and things like that. So we're going to ditch the illustrations. We're gonna go for a new vision of the brand pattern. Then I'm gonna find some photography as well within this process. And then we're gonna get onto the mock-ups. Do you know what? I am so glad that I ditched the original brand pattern and we went with something a little different, a little more that fits in with this brand. It's all about trial and error and experimenting. So if it doesn't feel right with you, it doesn't feel right for a reason. So keep experimenting, keep going, and you will get there. So the brand pattern is now designed. We've done the color palettes, the logo variations. We've got some photography that matches the brand and the vibe of it. Now it's time to see if this design and this brand is gonna work on real life products. So we're gonna now make some designs to go on some mock-ups and see if it works. You guys aren't even ready for this brand reveal. The mock-ups have taken it next level. I found some mock-ups from Invasive Elements. If you want to check them out, click the link in my description. Can this be a real thing? Even though this was just a bit of fun, it has changed the game. Like Krispy Kreme, check this out. Okay, so that was my take and my design style for Krispy Kreme. Let me know your thoughts on the brand and if this is a vibe you would go for or if you prefer the original branding. I won't be offended if you don't like my brand, but just remember this is a little bit of fun. I've added my little bit of spice into the brand, so please let me know. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and please let me know another famous brand you want to see me redesign.